Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel and welcome to Board Game Breakfast. Now, you'll notice last week I wasn't the host of Board Game Breakfast. I had Mike DeLisio do it. And this isn't because I was sick or tired, or sick and tired. It's just because I wanted to try new things. And so occasionally as the year goes by, I'm going to have guests host Board Game Breakfast because even though I have lots of opinions, and you all know that, I don't want to have the only opinions. I want other voices to host the show. I want other people to kind of take the wheel, and so we can just see what we can find there. But today I'm back. I'm hosting, and we are continuing our all stay at home. We are continuing our coverage, though. Fortunately, we've been practicing our live stuff, so a lot of that has been able to go out. We're able to do our live top 10s together. We're able to do live shows together. As long as the internet holds out, we'll still keep bringing you stuff each and every day. So, without further ado, let's get started with the show. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about a blog, or the end of a blog on the internet. And this blog was written, and it's written in German by Tom Felber, who is a very renowned board game critic in Germany. He was also the head of the Spiel des Jahres awards committee for many years. And I also want to point out, before I get into this, that I know Tom. Many years ago, when I lived in Korea, Tom was visiting Korea. He emailed me. I didn't actually know at the time he was a Spiel des Jahres judge. He emailed me, asked if I had some, things I could show him around. I invited him to my house. I believe he may have even stayed at my house a night, and he went around and saw Korea. But he brought some games. We played some games together. We had a really nice time, and that was the end of it. This happened with many people who came to Korea. Several years later, I moved back here to America, and this was about 8-9 years ago now. And one day my wife said, some guy stopped by the house and dropped a game off for you. He was on his way through Florida, visiting the Keys, and as a gift and a thank you for us having him to our house in Korea, he dropped off the Settlers of Catan Deluxe Edition, the 20th anniversary humongous edition of it, which is now in the Dice Tower Library. And that was unexpected and very nice. But I wanted to point that out there. We have also met each other and talked to each other at various conventions over the years. I remember one time I spent a lot of time talking to him at a thing we were at at Essen in Germany, because he was one of the few people who spoke English, so I spent a lot of time talking to him. And his blog has definitely got a lot of feedback since he's posted it, which has been almost a week ago at this point. Actually, I think it is more than a week ago. And he basically closed out his blog and did a bit of a scorched earth. Just said, here's the problems I have with the hobby. And there are people who are applauding this. There are people who are infuriated about it. But I thought, well, it's interesting. Now, there's a couple things to note. One, I'm reading a translation, and you would be too, probably, unless you speak German, that's translated from German to English. So the nuances of the language can be lost here. Two, even if I highly disagree with him, he's done a lot for the hobby, and I want to give this some sort of respect. So here he talks, especially since some of the things he says could even be taken as a criticism of the Dice Tower. So he mentioned some things that he wanted to talk about. One, he says the internet is always right, and so the internet, he would bring back these different things. All kinds of different people would play a game, and he says I'm being left out. Like he plays a game with lots of people, and then the internet would have like a very different opinion on that. I guess so. He says that's one of the reasons he's stopping gaming. I don't see that that's a big problem. To me, if me and my group like a specific game and the quote-unquote internet hates it, or vice versa, who cares? I'm having a good time playing the game, and it doesn't matter. There have been many times where I've reviewed games here on the Dice Tower channel, and I have definitely been a lone voice, either for or against the game. It is what it is. You just go by with it. He also talked about goodbye to engineering and how designs have changed, and straight Euro games with their mathematics are no longer at the top. I would argue there's still a lot of people who like those. It's just that the other games have caught up. That's what's really happened. I think there's still pretty much the same amount of people playing these heavy Euro games that are out there. There's just the people who play these other games. Those games have improved to now where they're the same. What was it? Number 3. Intelligence matters. He talks about board games for everyone, and not everyone enjoys it. And you need to be smart to play games. That seems something I would not push as much. Let's see. He also says, to be honest, nowhere in my life have I met so many annoying people as at the gaming table. And you run into a lot of people with public gaming events. I get it. And I get why a lot of people play privately, and this is a whole nother subject for sure. And I've run into certainly some very annoying people playing games, and I'm sure some of my opponents might say the same about me. But I've also ran into some of the most wonderful, kind, terrific people I've ever met in my life, and I will do it all again just to meet those people. He talks about introversion in gaming, multiplayer solitaire, the alleged lightness of games, and a lot of people are talking about how the award's too light. Teammates, eating out or playing, and people who come in and eat while they're playing games, and misunderstandings. And honestly, I don't want to get into this too much, but the one thing he mentioned was, the internet and people publishing reviews after playing it with their group, as opposed to he would go out and play with lots of different groups. And that's fair enough. Again, I do not even want to put myself in the same plane as him as a board game reviewer. I might disagree on that. I think you're allowed to post your opinion about games. I think you're allowed to say, this is what I did. I played the game, I enjoyed it or didn't enjoy it. And I think that one might take gaming too seriously sometimes. That being said, if Tom feels it's time to quit gaming, I think that's a legit thing, and I think we should respect what he says. We can certainly disagree with it, and I do disagree with a lot of things he said, but I also agree with a lot of things he said over the years, and I think he's done a fine job. And so this is kind of an interesting topic to me. Like I said, there's been a lot of debate and stuff about this on the internet, and people getting very, very much into this and talking about, is the Spiel des Jahres that big of a deal? Yes, it is. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that we're talking about these things. I think the whole outside realm of board gaming can do well with this. And so I salute Mr. Felber for all that he's done for the hobby. I have highly disagreed with nominees and winners from the Spiel des Jahres over the years, but that award has done a ton for the hobby, and he has certainly helmed it and did a lot in that direction. And so, as he leaves board gaming, we can disagree or agree with his final blog post, but one thing I can certainly do is say thank you.
Hi guys, I am Randy.
I am Ellen.
So we did not discuss this stack beforehand.
No, we did not.
You will be getting live results from the Kirby
Real
household.
reactions.
Elder Sign, this is a cooperative dice game where you are going to different locations, each location requiring a certain set of die faces and things, and, all sorts of different things. You can get, weapons and things that will help you re-roll dice or get more dice,
Kill monsters.
Co-op, so this one is going to leave the collection.
I actually want to keep it.
You are... What?
I want to keep this one. I don't know why. I don't like co-op. You guys know this on me.
Oh, gosh. I am absolutely shocked.
But I just had so many awesome memories of this.
I liked it. I think it's a great game, actually.
I can't believe I'm saying keep it.
I was saying call it because I thought you were going to say it. Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. This is a social deduction game where you have 5 murder weapons in front of you and 5 items that you leave behind. And everybody has that. And you have one person that's kind of like the moderator almost.
Yeah.
He's giving clues, but he can't talk. So he's kind of pointing things out. He's kind of listening to the conversations and trying to move people in certain directions. And lots of finger pointing and lots of deferring of what's going on. And I think it's one of the easier ones, social deduction games to play, because you don't have to be necessarily really good at lying, because you can look at other people's cards and go, well, no, that fits the criteria.
That is true.
Clearly.
That's a good point.
So I think it works really well. I think we should keep it.
I don't want it anymore.
No, we are keeping this game. Overruled. This
I don't
is
like
the
lying
best social
to people.
deduction game on the planet. Magic Maze. What was that noise? Was that an indication of what of what's
No, it's something in my throat.
Oh, interesting.
This is another real-time game that this dude wants to play all the time, and
I love this
it is a divorce maker.
Ellen hates the big red pawn, so there's no talking in this game at all. And you need to everybody has like a way of moving. So one person can only move up, one person can only take the escalator. So you have to cooperatively, without talking, get people to correctly, move a pawn to somewhere.
There's certain times where you have to switch your direction. So he takes the fact that I had right, and I take his. So then your mind has to shift completely. It's not even that. It's that red pawn. I want to set it on fire.
So you put the big red pawn in front of somebody when you want them to do something, and people like tap it, and Ellen can't stand it.
Because Randy's like a judge with a gavel. We have like a hole in our table upstairs from him. You got to do something, and I'm like, what?
All right, guys, we will see you in the next video.
Bye.
Okay, I think I've been talking about movies and TV shows and other stuff to review, so I'm going to review two small things that are both big parts of our studio here. One is board game related, the other is not. So we'll do the one that's not board game related, and that is this. The Hokeki, this is a lighter. Now, I like candles. I love scented candles, something I've always enjoyed, and so the Yankee Candles, big fan of that sort of thing. My problem is these lighters. I'm so glad we don't use matches much anymore, but lighters, they always seem to run out of fluid or it doesn't get in here. This here is chargeable by USB, and it looks kind of like a stun gun to the point. So you'll see there's a little bit of a flame there, and that's only because there's a little bit of dirt that's stuck in here from the candle I just lit actually a little bit ago. These work really well. They last quite a while. I used them when I did the New Year's fireworks this year, and none of them ran out. They got pretty close, and I was consistently lighting fuses for about an hour straight. But I just recharge it. There's a little USB port on the side. There's also a little bit of a safety switch here on the side, so that when I turn it off, it doesn't work at all. And my kids get into that, although, again, most of my kids know how to properly use a lighter. It has kind of a bendable thing here, so it's a little easy, if you need to get into a spot to get a candle, again, which is what I use this for majorly. And the one thing, side effect, good or bad, apparently it makes a very high-pitched noise when you turn it on. And I don't hear it at all because I'm old, but it really bugs my kids, so is this a win-win? I don't know. The other thing here is a corner rounder. Now this one is from Helisi, Helisi, 5 millimeters. And what this does is I use this when I laminate things, or sometimes when cards don't have rounded corners, or something I want to have rounded corners. You just stick them in there. So this yellow piece of paper, I stick this yellow piece of paper in here, and it will round the corner for you. And it rounds them really nicely. It holds them here in a little plastic thing. You dump it out just like a hole punch. But if you put the card, and I use a piece of paper that's not very useful, but when you put little thin cardboard in here, you line them up. We've done it with cards, and I was really nervous one time doing it with like a small deck of cards, and you couldn't tell. As long as you put it in there and hold it in the right way, they will still shuffle. They'll still all look the same. But I use it mostly when laminating stuff, because once I laminate it, it has those sharp corners, and laminated sharp corners are a real pain. And this rounding the corners there can help out quite a bit. Some people round tiles, which I've done too before with this, although this might be a little too much rounding on a tile. But if tile's larger and it just has those sharp corners for whatever reason, you can round it. And it's a very useful thing to have for games. Makes your games a little bit better. And if you laminate it all, to me, getting one of these is worth it. I don't have a lot of experience with different corner rounders, but this particular one is the one I picked when I was looking at them, and I found that it works really well for me.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
All right, today we're going to be talking about Firefly the game.
But before we do, we want to talk about something real quick, and we just want to talk about mental health, specifically with me, and something that's been really awesome. For about the past, year and a half, I have been being very proactive about practicing gratitude. It sounds like something I would teach, my daughter, something I should teach my daughter. But I literally will write down things and verbally say things I'm grateful for, and actually calms me down, and it really helps my anxiety. So if any of you out there struggle with anxiety, I would recommend trying this for a couple weeks and just to see if it works for you.
All right, so what I am grateful for is Firefly the game. Oh my gosh, this game is so much fun. So if you're familiar with the show at all, Firefly, it's based off of that. So you're these pirates in space, these kind of space cowboys who are going around. You're hiring crew. You are, you're working these jobs for these various contacts. You're flying around the galaxy in this game, and you're trying to make some money, trying to survive in this cold, dark world.
I really like this game. I think the game really does cater to the fans. I think it has a solid gameplay, and I think that's all good. I just think that it does cater to the fans that makes a good game a great game for those who love the Firefly world.
Yeah, one of the main central mechanisms in this game is pick up and deliver. And this is one of the games that kind of, just does it in a really unique way, too. But we love pick up and deliver. We don't see it in a lot of games, or at least in the games that we play for whatever reason. Oh. But this game is so interesting. And there's a lot of fan service, a lot of different quotes and characters and things from the show that I think that fans will pick up on. Non-fans, this might be a pass for you, unless you like pick up and deliver in space.
Well, if you would like to see Ryan and I in our fancy duds, go ahead and check out our full review on Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook. Everybody, this is Ryan. I'm Bethany, hoping you have a happy, healthy breakfast.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Hi, I'm Jordan with Jordan Plays Blue. I'm taking a break from definitions this week. I wanted to chat about what we can do about local game stores. A lot of local game stores have had to close because the world is super weird right now, and for some reason they were deemed as unessential, which is probably up for debate, but whatever. But there's other things that we can do. So if you're following your local game store on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, a lot of times they're trying to find ways to connect with you guys, their customers. They might be doing live plays, they might be doing Zoom hangouts, they might be just doing videos that they've never done before just to connect with you guys. So that's really cool to connect with them that way. You could also buy gift cards, which is really great because it's kind of a promise that you're going to buy games from them again in the future for when they reopen. It also gives them some cash flow now. They deserve that. And then the last thing I wanted to highlight was what publishers are doing. So a lot of game publishers, and here's a list over here. I'm not going to highlight necessarily any of them because I'm not paid by any of these publishers, but publishers are doing some really cool stuff right now. They might be giving you a discount to buy a game, and then if you write your game store's name in the comments section, that the local game store gets a percentage of your purchase as well. Or they might be giving bundles of games to local game stores based off of your purchase, or weird things. There's a lot of cool ideas out there, and I think that's really great that these publishers are trying to help the local game stores. I would support your local game store. If you like them right now, do your best. Stay safe out there, guys. I'm Jordan. Thanks.
So what's coming from the Dice Tower this week? Well, as you know, we're all kind of stuck here playing games with each other in our quarantine, and I'm playing a lot of games with my kids. So you're going to see a lot of lighter, smaller games I'm reviewing. However, I have some big games going up. The biggest one is Ikeon, the Kickstarter game from the same folks, Tabula Games, who made Miss Thea. This is kind of the sequel to that. Although there is a combination game between the two that I have not yet played. I'm just looking at the new game by itself. Fickle, a game about fairies. I'll be taking a look at that, and I'm doing one of my videos that always gets me a lot of hate. I'm doing 8 negative game reviews about games that are just games I don't enjoy, to the point where I didn't want to put too much more effort into them to do the full reviews of them, but a kind of a quick reasoning as to why I don't like them, so that I can move them on out and get other games in that I do want to talk about more on the show. We'll also be doing some more top 10s. We're doing our live chat every night at 9 p.m. And I'm continuing my 10,000 and below series. If you haven't watched that, it's where I talk about games that are ranked 10,000 or less on Board Game Geek, and just giving my quick thoughts. Sometimes I played them, sometimes I want to play them. Either way, it's been a lot of fun for me to record that. So that's what's coming on the Dice Tower this week.
Hey everyone, it is a gorgeous day here today in the DC Metro, one of the first this spring, so I've gotten to go outside and hang out with the fam in the backyard a little bit, which has been fantastic, which got me thinking that most of our play groups are a little bit smaller right now as you're sheltering in place with whoever you happen to be sheltering in place with. So today what I thought we'd talk about is 2-player games that you can play with your Nona or your partner or one of your kids that won't wind up resulting in tempers flaring and someone being banished to the backyard for a little while after a little bit of Twilight struggle. The first one is Fugitive. In this little 2-player deduction game, one player is the detective trying to chase down the criminal who is trying to get away with the perfect heist. I like this game because there seems to be enough information for both players to really turn this into more cat and mouse than anything else. The whole game gives the feel of a really great car chase at the end of a really cool heisty robbery type film. The next one is Codenames Duet. So this one is just like regular Codenames, but this is a party for 2 people. In Codenames Duet, each player is going to take turns as the Codemaster trying to get the other person to guess their words. This is a cooperative party game, so everybody celebrates at the end. My final suggestion is Patchwork. Now, this is kind of the grandmother of the polyomino games that we've seen a ton of recently, and it really scratches that Tetris itch. It's hard to get frustrated while you're just making the perfect quilt. And given how short it is, you can really knock out 3 or 4 games in a single session. By their nature, 2-player games have a tendency to be a little more cutthroat, so I hope this list of games that'll keep you in a more serene mood help out. If you can think of any other ones, please drop them below in the comments. And if you like the content, check us out at Girls Game Shelf. See you next time.
Hey everyone! Today on 2 Minute Mini we're going to turn the characters from Tang Garden from this into this in just 2 minutes. Hey everyone, Matt here from the Plastic Canvas and welcome to 2 Minute Mini, and today we are painting 5 of the characters from Tang Garden. Now when we first opened the box for this game, the first thing that really stood out was the disparity in the production quality between the miniatures and the rest of the game. The production quality across the rest of the game is amazing, especially the artwork. There is such bright, vibrant colours and the panoramas and the garden tiles look awesome, but these characters in comparison were very, very plain, very, very simple, and so the challenge with painting these was taking very, very simple minis and still trying to make them look good out on the table. And to do that, I really focused on using my most bright and vibrant colours that I've got, so magentas, really bright saturated oranges, turquoises, those sorts of colours that don't get used very often. And then when painting each of the minis, really trying to pick out a key focal point that would be drawing people's attention, but also would be where I spend the majority of my time. So for example, the previous mini that you were watching, the lady with the umbrella, that was her focal point. So I spent quite a bit of time doing a wet blend to do the highlights from the top of the umbrella through to the shadows underneath, and then picking out each of those triangular sections just to make that a little bit more eye-catching. For others, like the Empress here, it was the folds in the clothing so that the detailing stands out. And so, yeah, just really sticking to my most bright and vibrant colours so that out on the table, they kind of match the brightness of their artwork, and then just trying to have a focal point that was going to catch everyone's attention. And I think despite the fact that this isn't a high quality paint job, because of those bright colours that I use, they still do look pretty good on the table. So if you would like to see a more detailed and thorough version of this video, head over to my channel, The Plastic Canvas, and I hope you enjoy your breakfast.
It's easy to feel grumpy these days, you know, especially for those of us who really like to go out and talk to other people. To be inside consistently can definitely be a way to allow that grumpiness to get out and affect people in your family and or the things that you type and put on the internet. And I'm definitely seeing more and more of that as time goes by. But I'll tell you what, I have been so happy with many of the positive effects of what has gone on, and I'd like to take a look at those briefly. The positive effects of this forced quarantine that pretty much almost everybody watching here is under. You know, everyone is not pleased about many things that are going on, but I'll tell you, there are many good things about it. And so here are some good things for me personally. One, my kids have really delved into things that they've never done before. I've bought the kids in the past these little kits of make your own bracelets and, duct tape bracelets and make your own soap and all kinds of stuff for Christmases and birthdays, and they all got stuck in a cabinet. They got messed with a little bit, and then they gone away to the point where I swore that I was not buying any more of these. And every single one of those kits has been opened and done. Almost every puzzle in the house has been built. We all have gathered around and done activities together. I bet some of my kids who don't play board games ever have been playing board games. I've seen art being done. Some of them have jumped into exercise programs and working on those. And to me, none of this would have happened had they had this other free time. And I'm glad to see this positive build from my kids specifically. And for me, I've spent more time with my family over the past I had to, right, over the past month or so, and it's been great. Yeah, there are times where everyone is like, all right, corners, but for the most part, it's been fantastic just spending time with them. So that's one positive thing. Another positive thing for me is it shows how much I appreciate those who I work with. I have a great group of guys here. My video editor Roy and Mike Delicio, and of course Z, and then Kenny, and we work together every day practically. We aren't now. We're meeting online and we're texting back and forth and talking through Skype things, but I love the people I work with. I really do. And not having them here, I miss them a lot, but it makes me really appreciate what I have. And then the point 3, to expand that even farther, is just board gaming in general. I've not had a lot of time to spend with people often. I'll say, I'm busy, I'm doing this and this. I have a little bit more time now, and I've been just calling and talking to a lot of people. I've spent a lot of time talking to various people in the industry, not all of them, so if I haven't called you, I apologize, but just I get on the phone with somebody and I'm like, oh, I have some quick things to talk about, and then 30 minutes later, we're still talking. And it's not even just the board game industry. I've talked to other people outside it, just spent time talking and shooting the breeze and spending time, and I realized just how much I've come to really like a lot of people that I know and spend time with them. And so, people, we always say here on the Dice Tower that it's a show about games, but especially the people who play them. And I want to keep pushing that because that's really the truth of it. Because I'm playing a lot more solo games, and we do the whole joke about Tom's not a solo gamer. I do play solo games, and I play games online, but I'll tell you what, one of the main things I like is playing games with people in person. That part I don't have right now, and it shows how much I enjoy that part of it. It's not the board games. It's the people I play with. The board games are merely a conduit, an amazing conduit, to doing that with them. And so, yeah, I might get a little grumpier maybe as time goes by, but these things themselves hopefully will help me remain positive as time goes by, as we move into a new normal, whatever that might be. I can't think of a better industry to be part of.
Hello, and welcome back to Retro Board Game Corner. Here I have Input, a strategy game ahead of its time. Published in 1984 by Milton Bradley, this is a 2-player abstract game in which you're trying to capture your opponent's pieces using pre-programmed tiles. Let me set this up and show you how it works. This is what the game board will look like set up. You're going to lay your 6 tiles here on your rack with the blank dot facing you. The red player is going to do the same. Each player is going to have the exact same 6 tiles. On every turn, you can do one of 3 things. You can take a tile from the rack and put it in your entering space. Or you can take a tile from the entering space and put it in the starting playing area, which is noted here on your tile by the blank dot. Or you can take a tile from your starting space and move it to the next designated stop, which is pictured here on the tile. Once you have done one of those 3 things, your turn is over, and then it's the next player's turn. You can have as many playing pieces here on the playing area as you want. The only rule is that your color cannot occupy the same space, except here on the entering space, where you can have a maximum of 3 tiles stacked ready to come out into play. The object of the game is you're trying to get your opponent's 6 playing pieces out of play. And you do that by ending a movement turn on your opponent's tile. Once you've done that, the opponent's tile goes into the holding bin. Once you get all 6 of his pieces here, you have won the game. So, I'm not really into abstracts, but this one kind of reminds me of like a futuristic chess where you're trying to capture your opponent's pieces. As the game goes on, you're trying to outthink and outmaneuver your opponent, which will lead you to victory. Well, that's all the time I have for now. If you have a comment below, or you can tweet them to me at RetroBoardGamer. And as always, may your rolls be high.
Hi, we're Board Game Opinions. I'm Amy.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Mark.
And today we're doing our Cafe Play segment where we talk about games that have been really popular in the cafe this week. One of the ones that's really good with 2 players is Patchwork.
Now, you were saying you get a lot of people coming in wanting to play 2-player games, but they don't know what to play.
Yeah.
What sort of range do you typically recommend then?
Generally, we go for 4 classics. Well, 3 to 4 classics. One of them being Patchwork, Seven Wonders Duel, Codenames Duet, and then the Unlock series that we've spoken about.
But Patchwork, you said, gets recommended more or played more than any of the others?
It gets chosen. We tend to give them the 4 options, give a brief overview of each of the games, and 9 times out of 10 they pick Patchwork first. Often they'll play more than 1 game in a sitting, obviously, but Patchwork is always the go-to number 1.
What's your reasoning behind that?
I think when they see it less with the theme, but a bit more like a Tetris-style placement game where you get minus points for empty spots, and here's a board, look, something you recognise, it's a board game, and boom, they're away. So especially for even the casual players, it's so easy to explain, it's really quick play, you get it down, it's really aesthetically pleasing with the pieces, and it does get them really involved.
The theme put me off quite a bit when I first played it, but after I played it, I was like, this is good. And then I played it again and I was like, this is really good. And
often people do play it twice. Often people do play it twice in a row because it's fast enough too as well.
Yeah, it has that at the end of the game. At least I've been filling in something. It's like the whole Tetris thing. It's that you can feel, I need that piece to get in there, and that sort of thinking's really fun, and the completion of it and doing that. It has a really good app too, which I suppose gets a lot of people playing it.
Yeah, it's very likely that people might have heard it from the App Store as well. So that's probably, if we get actual requests for it, is likely where a lot of that comes from.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. That's all we've got time for today on our Cafe Play segment. We'll see you next time. Bye.
And that's it for another Board Game Breakfast. Many of you may have noticed that we have cut the segment, What's Adding to the Library this week, just because the library has been kind of an ebb and flow right now. It's undergoing a massive retooling as we go through each of the games and see if we can make them look nicer. We are currently on shelf 11 out of 23 shelves, so we're almost halfway working through that, and so, you know, we move on. But once that's there, we'll get back to that as time goes by. But I am adding some cool things. I just put Battle Ball in the library, and Monumental just showed up for the library, so that's exciting as we get these games together and as we continue on. Don't forget, we do a daily chat every night at 9 p.m. Pretty soon, if not already, we've opened up our backer kit so that if you missed backing the Dice Tower Kickstarter, you can just go to dicetowerkickstarter.com and it will take you right there if you want to get involved with that. And if you have in the past, I appreciate that. We don't know what tomorrow might bring, but I can tell you there's some reviews scheduled, so they should show up on YouTube. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast on the Dice Tower.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production.